Welcome. There we go. It's an honor to have you here tonight. I think you're in for a real treat. We're going to open the concert with three pieces by Charles Ives. It's a beautiful thing here at the Conservatory to have so many dedicated people, faculty, students, staff, administrators, etc. The person that I'm about to introduce to you wears several hats. Professor of theory, but also the director of graduate studies here in our conservatory. Has been a colleague of mine for many, many years, for many of us that have been in this environment, and happens to be an Ives scholar. So when we realized it was the 150th birthday of Charles Ives, we knew we had to recognize that. Please welcome David Thurmaier to the stage.
Good evening. I'd like to thank Professor Davis and the Conservatory Wind Symphony for giving me the opportunity to speak about the composer of the first three pieces on tonight's concert, Charles E. Ives. I'm not only a music theorist who teaches and studies Charles Ives' music, but I'm also the vice president of the Charles Ives Society. Yes, that is a real thing, charlesives.org, if you want to look it up. So I'm particularly happy to see these pieces on tonight's program. As Professor Davis said, Charles Ives turns 150 a month from today on October 20th. He was born in 1874 and raised in Danbury, Connecticut, about 50 miles northeast of New York City. His father, George, was a bandmaster and cornet player in the Civil War and was a huge influence on Charles because he often made fun of formal music training and pushed his son to keep an open mind to all kinds of sounds and musical experiments. Charles was a highly respected church organist in Danbury and later in New Haven, where he attended Yale University and eventually got that formal training, studying composition and music theory under the noted composer Horatio Parker. Ives studied music diligently at Yale and often drove his teacher crazy by wanting to write pieces in multiple keys, to which Professor Parker said Ives, quote, tried to hog all the keys in one meal, by poking fun at classical conventions and borrowing melodies from classical music, hymn tunes, and popular songs to include in his original works. Ives graduated from Yale in 1898 and then tried to become a professional composer and organist, but ended up becoming frustrated, trying to write the music people wanted him to write, and when instead you do something else, you become an insurance businessman. And he became incredibly rich and successful and was free to write the music he wanted on nights and on weekends. After a while, he married a woman appropriately named Harmony. Good music name. They had a daughter named Edith. He became friends with Mark Twain. He started to become much more known in the 1930s and 40s. He won the Pulitzer Prize in Music in 1947. His second symphony was given a celebrated world premiere by Leonard Bernstein in the New York Philharmonic in 1951, and then Ives died in 1954 at the age of 80, much better known. In the music world, and I'm sure our students would agree, we often describe someone as a jazz person, or a choral person, or an orchestra person. Well, Ives was definitely a band person. He played percussion in his town band, and saw John Philip Sousa's band on tour through Connecticut. He also wrote many marches and pieces for band, which you can read about in a great article by a UMKC Conservatory band conducting alumnus, Dr. Isaac Brinberg, who detailed how Ives's marches and band music fit right into the late 19th century style. Tonight's program features three varied selections from Ives's music, one piece written for what was originally called a theater orchestra, which is Country Band March, and then two transcriptions, the Alcotts from the Concord Sonata, originally for piano, and They Are There, originally a song. So the first piece we'll hear tonight, Country Band March, is an oral depiction of an amateur band trying to play a march together at a town event, and not always succeeding. You'll want to listen for an out-of-tune introduction, all kinds of rhythmic displacement, and a chaotic ending with a complex mix of borrowed tunes. You might hear Yankee Doodle, London Bridge, My Old Kentucky Home, and a whole slew of Civil War tunes like Marching Through Georgia, Battle Cry of Freedom, and more. The music gets more and more disjunct rhythmically, with multiple layers building upon each other until the ending sort of falls apart with one player not catching the final cutoff. Are you supposed to laugh at these poor amateur band members struggling to hang on for dear life? I think so. We all know the scene. You can't help but keep watching and enjoy and find the charm. There's much humor in this cacophony, but it's skilled on the part of the composer and performers, and this piece gives you a slice of late 19th century rural America. So to Professor Davis and the Wind Symphony, let's take a listen. So did you laugh? Yes, a little bit, but how good did that sound? I mean, it's for an Ivesian, this is so exciting to hear Ives this close. This is amazing. So now we're going to turn down the volume a little bit, something a little different. The Wind Symphony will next play a beautiful transcription of the Alcotts, the third movement of Ives' most important and significant piano work, his Sonata No. 2, Concord, Massachusetts, 1840 to 1860. The sonata has 4 movements, each named after a New England transcendentalist figure: Ralph Waldo Emerson, Nathaniel Hawthorne, the Alcotts, including Louisa May, the author of Little Women, and Henry David Thoreau. Ives was inspired by transcendentalism, a movement in the 19th century that focused on nature, spiritualism, and philosophy, and produced some of America's finest literature. As a New Englander himself, Ives related to these figures and portrayed each of them through some of his richest and most complex music. The Alcotts, which you'll hear, is a respite in the sonata, as it's the shortest and most conventional movement, but that doesn't always mean it's easy listening. Ives himself wrote, and this is a picture here, "Concord Village itself reminds one of that common virtue lying at the height and root of all conquered divinities. As one walks down the broad arched streets, passing the white house of Emerson, he comes presently beneath the old elms overspreading the Abbott House. Within the house, on every side, lie remembrances of what imagination can do for better amusement of fortunate children who have to do for themselves much needed lessons in these days of automatic, ready-made, easy entertainment, which deaden rather than stimulate the creative faculty. And there sits in the Alcott house the little old spinet piano Sophia Thoreau gave to the Alcott children, on which Beth played the old Scotch airs and played at the Fifth Symphony. All around you, under the Concord sky, there still floats the influence of that human faith melody, transcendent and sentimental enough for the enthusiast or the cynic, respectively." As Ives just told us, we can listen for the repeated references to the opening of Beethoven's Fifth Symphony, ba 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 ba, which is an important leitmotif in the piece. Also, he mentions the human faith melody that represents all the good in people with its noble and lyrical sound, and it's a tune that goes something like da 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 da. Then it gets a little off, but that's the basic idea. You'll hear it. The piece also has a sentimental middle section that reminds one of Parlor's song, and the final part of the piece combines all the themes together in a powerful ending that ends very quietly suddenly. Please enjoy the Alcotts from Ives' Concord Sonata. final Ives work, not the final work, the final Ives work on our program tonight, They Are There, is another transcription, this time of a song that Ives first wrote as He Is There, a rah-rah patriotic song in support of American efforts in World War I. And then in 1942, he changed the words to, you guessed it, support American efforts in World War II. The executive editor of the Ives Society, Jim Sinclair, a noted band and orchestra conductor in New Haven and at Yale, transcribed this song for band in 1976 for the bicentennial. Once again, you'll hear a lot of patriotic and Civil War tunes like the Battle Cry of Freedom, Dixie, Columbia, the Gem of the Ocean, the French National Anthem, Yankee Doodle, and Country Band March. This is brilliant cyclical programming on the part of Professor Davis here. This is just brilliant. Here is the text of the first verse and chorus in case you want to think about the meaning of this song. There's a time in many a life when it's due, though facing death, and our soldier boys will do their part, that people can live in a world where all will have a say. They're conscious of always of their country's aim, which is liberty for all. Hip, hip, hooray, you'll hear them say as they go to the fighting front. Brave boys are now in action. They are there. They will help to free the world. They are fighting for the right, but when it comes to might, they are there, they are there, they are there. As the Allies beat up all the war hogs, the boys will be there fighting hard, and then the world will shout the battle cry of freedom, tenting on a new campground. I recommend that after the concert, you listen to Ives playing and singing He Is There in a particularly rousing and enthusiastic version you can find on YouTube and elsewhere. It displays his fervent patriotism, his skillful blending of quotations and original music, and shows what an endlessly fascinating composer he still is 150 years after his birth. So I hope you'll continue to give Ives' music a chance, and I thank Professor Davis and the Wind Symphony for letting me be a small part of this celebration. I hope you enjoy They Are There, and I'll end by saying happy 150th birthday to Mr. Ives. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Thank you. Promise you we're not going to talk all night. I did want to invite and thank all of our members from this stage, to thank the live stream folks for being with us. We know there's several people watching from afar. It means a lot. I think one of the people watching might be Nick Williams, who's the band director at the University of Georgia. Why am I talking about that? January of this last year, I was invited to go be a guest conductor at a big event they have called Jan Fest, and I was rehearsing for several days with the best high school kids from the state of Georgia. And after the longest day of rehearsals, I was beat, but that was the night that UGA was gonna show their goods for all of these potential students to go to University of Georgia. And Nick, being a friend, I said, I need to go to this concert, even though I wanted to go to my hotel room and crash because I had another 8 hours the next day. So I went to the concert. The Georgia band program is fantastic. Nick's doing a terrific job leading that. And towards the middle of the program, they started to play the piece you're about to hear. And I was riveted. It's a voice that I haven't heard. It's a human that I didn't know that was there. And I immediately finished listening. I ran down the side of the hall. I told this to them already, but I went right up to Marie and I said, you don't know me, but I love that piece. I love the way you took current vernacular of rhythm and blues and hip hop and soulful music and embedded into the Western classical medium. And then I started a relationship with Marie, and that I'm looking forward to building over the next several years. On Thursday, yesterday I guess, or Tuesday. On Tuesday, Marie was out in LA working on a film score, and she carved time out to meet with us via Zoom, and we played for her, and she talked to us about the narrative that comes along with this piece. If you haven't read that program note, I hope that you will, because it really is a fascinating piece of very interesting African studies mythology that became very important to Marie in her upbringing when she was a student in college at Florida A&M University. So I'm not going to talk all night. Marie, I know you're with us on the live stream. We dedicate this to you. We can't wait for you to hear what we've worked on even since Tuesday. I think you'll be very proud. Let's all thank Marie before we perform it. Annually, we have a University of Missouri Kansas City Conservatory Concerto Aria competition. And before I introduce the person that's going to play for you this evening, it's a real honor. When you look at like our applied faculty's bios, and they go to all these great schools, and I often see that they posted that they won the concerto competition at their school. For a freshman to win it is just not normal. He's now a sophomore. I was conducting an honor band in Louisiana 2 years ago, and this kid, Jacob, was playing saxophone, and he was 10 levels above everyone in the band. And I went over to him, we started a relationship, and P.S., he said he was going to go to LSU, and I said, no, you're not. Sort of kidding, sort of kidding. Anyways, parents and our grandparents and family members are here from Louisiana, I think. Where are they in our audience? Where are those amazing people from Louisiana? We're so glad you're here. Is Professor Sheeman in the house? There he is, back in the back. Congratulate Professor. It's a student from our amazing saxophone studio. Please welcome Jacob Bickham to the stage. Zhou Long, are you in town? Are you in the house? Dr. Zhou, are you here? Yay, there he is, over there next to Chin Yi. Stand up, Dr. Zhou. There. If this is your first concert for an event at this school, if you're a relative or a friend of someone that's new to our institution, you need to know, and this isn't bragging, this is fact, we have one of the finest composition programs in the world. And students come from all over the world to study here. Dr. Zhou and Dr. Chen are both two of the 4 or 5 members of that faculty. I see Yotam Haber here, who we're going to present a work of later this year in May that we can't wait to share with you all. But this piece that we're going to play tonight, Ancient Echoes, was written for this ensemble, a version 7 years ago. And we premiered it at the College Band Directors National Association National Convention that we hosted here in 2017 in the Kauffman Center. And 25 other institutions joined us in that endeavor. And it's become a very, 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 capital very, respected work in the wind ensemble world. It's a piece that I'll do the rest of my life as long as I'm on the planet. But I want you to know that it's a feat. It's a 30-minute feat. And it's remarkably orchestrated, I will tell you that. You're going to hear colors that I've never heard in my life that are profoundly attractive to me. And there's oftentimes wind ensembles get the negative assessment that all they do is play loud. This piece is going to challenge the opposite end of that spectrum. We're going to raise the roof a couple times on this piece too, volume-wise. But it's also going to have some of the most softest writing I've ever heard, and I think it's very, very beautiful. Think about a narrative that has to do with ancient memories. And when you listen to this, I think you can go to places that you might not have thought you could. It's very sentimental, it's powerful, it's storytelling. If you haven't read the program note, you can make up your own, I think. It's East meets West, and I think it's just a fascinating endeavor. These students have given everything, all the pieces tonight, to present to you a concert that we hope inspires you and that we hope you take on your journey as a more elevated human being. I can't talk about what I'm about to talk about without crashing on stage, but I lost one of my best friends 2 days ago. I gotta stop or I'm gonna break down. But if I learned anything, it was a very sudden passing. If you learn anything from that, everyone in this audience could be gone in a blink of an eye. When you leave here tonight, tell somebody you love them, give them a hug, give them an extra pat on the back, give them an extra, just whatever you need, affirmation of love. I'd appreciate that. This is for you, Rob. I know Rob loved this piece. Thank you for coming tonight. It's a real honor to share with you. Come back to our other concerts. There's a concert tomorrow night, by the way, with our orchestra and choir. I think on this very same stage, I'm guessing, is that right? Okay, good, on this very same stage. So come check that out. I'll be in attendance. Looking forward to my colleagues and students making great music. Again, it's an honor. Please enjoy Ancient Echoes by Dr. Zhou Long.